The Notebook is a novel of the American writer Nicholas Sparks, published in Italy in 1996 by Frasinelli Editor. In 2004 has been realized the adaptation of the book, directed by Nick Cassavetes and interpreted by Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, in the role of Noah and Ellie. The novel begins with an old man that was reading a book of notes to a sick Alzheimer's woman. The story was born in the summer of 1932, during the New Year's Revival Festival in New Bern. Two young guys, Noah Calhoun and Ellie Nelson, know each other for the first time. Between the two young people breathes an intense and passionate love. They spend together all the summer, sharing their dreams in the big house that Noah wants to buy. However, this story will end soon. In fact, Ellie is forced by her family, that didn't like Noah at all, to return in the city. After Ellie's departure, Noah writes her a lot of love letters without ever having a reply. After 2 years of silence, Noah decides to write her the last one letter, thinking that she has forgotten him by now. Ellie is totally unaware that her mother hiding Noah's letter. With the outbreak of the World War II, Noah enlisted in the army and Ellie became a war nurse. In the meantime, Ellie knows the lawyer Lon Hanmon Jr. that came from to a wealthy family. She's fascinated by this man and she accepts her marriage proposal. At the same time, Noah, after returning from the war, decides to buy and restructure the large farmhouse of her dream. The only regret in the realization of his dream is the absence of Ellie. Noah's success in the restructuring of the old house, making it return to the old shyness. Its artwork receives the admiration of the people so much that a reporter of a local newspaper praises his job and shyness of the restructuring, writing an article. For Ellie, the days of her marriage draw near. But one day, casually, she reads an article of newspaper that speaks of Noah and is announced to upset all of her life. Ellie decides to return to New Bern, lying to her future husband and to her family, obviously to see Noah again, and to understand if the marriage with Lon was the correct choice. Ellie and Noah look back after many years, and after a seething embarrassment and having talked a while, inevitably between the two young guys again brass the patient and they spend the few next day together. Ellie confessed to be engaged with Lon Hanmon Jr., a wealthy man, a good family lawyer, who loves her and respects her a lot. The two will marry in a few weeks, but she doesn't tell it to Noah. After 2 days of intense conversation and patience, Ellie's mothers arrive to disturb the quiet of the two young lovers. Ellie, scared by the arrival of her mother, who confessed her that also Lon would soon find out where she was, go back to the hotel, and before facing Lon, she decides to read one of the many letters that Noah had written to her. Ellie must make an important choice: keep the promise made to Lon or come back to Noah. Ellie decides to come back with Noah, and she asking him to write their love story on a notebook day after day. At the end of the story, the old woman understands, despite being Alzheimer's, that it's her story and that the man who told her is Noah. Noah and Ellie were made a promise to retract the pages of their lives, to overcome the disease even for a few moments, and return once more to each other. This story is narrated from the point of view of Noah Calhoun, male protagonist both in the book and in the film. In the novel, the story begins in October 1946, when young Noah returns to New Bern after the war and decides to buy the home of his dream and to restructure it, employing all his forces and all his money, trying to forget Ellie in all the ways. The center of the story, both in the book and in the movie, is that beautiful house restored by Noah, waiting for Ellie's return. He knew and he was convinced that one day she would come back to him, and so it was. The film begins with a narrator's flashback. It was the summer of 1932. Both the novelist Nicholas Sparks and the film director Nick Cassavetes describe the landscape around Noah and Ellie, both plugging into the nature of the newborn, making it the centerpiece of their love. The nature, and above all the respect and the love for it, is one of the principal themes of the novel. Both protagonists like to spend whole days diving into the nature of newborn, watching the flora and the fauna that characterize and at the same time respect and complete it. Another theme that characterizes this story is undoubtedly the love of the two guys, a clean, respectful, and above all, eternal love, obstructed by the family of Ellie and by long years of distance. A love that the protagonists have managed to carry on and which has won over everything. Noah and Ellie married and they had 5 wonderful children, of whom only will die. They had promised eternal love each other, and at the age of 18 years old they still find themselves struggling with a disease. A disease that will bring Ellie away from Noah. The novel dedicates a long and last chapter from Ellie's disease. After the death of one of their 5 children, Ellie was struck by a strong Alzheimer's form. Ellie wrote many letters to her husband, admitting her mistakes and promising him eternal love. Before the disease devoured her completely, Noah is forced to bring Ellie to a nursing home because the Alzheimer's had completely devoured her. She did not recognize anyone, not even him and her children. Noah had moved there with her, and every day he read their love story and that she could remember him and fight the disease. Another big difference between novel and film is the conclusion. In the movie, Noah is hit by an earth attack. He can see Ellie for the last time and they die together after giving a long and last kiss. The novel does not describe the death of the two protagonists. Noah is hit by an earth attack, but he survives, returns in the clinic to Ellie, and the story ends, leaving the end of the novel to the reader. Both in the film and in the novel, we live a great part of the life of the two characters. It's about the past, the magical summer that has seen their love rise, and then there is a lot of talk about the adult love, ending with the two now old characters. The author wants to introduce a love that does not vanish even when they become old. The feeling that remains strong despite the old age. There are described different kinds of love, the most careful of youth, perhaps the more mature of adulthood, and the sweet and endearing of the two elderly people. Tired finally by the disease and by the tiredness of a life it almost sees together by now to its end. In my opinion, The Notebook is a wonderful love story, an intense fable of passion without age and without time. A beautiful love story. The Notebook represents the love story that each of us should have and desires, because there is not more beautiful things than live a strong love story like this. I have chosen this story because in my opinion it is the most beautiful love story that I have ever read or known. Both in the novel and in the movie there is a great care of particulars and an important reference to the nature that promotes the love of Noah and Ellie, the beauty of a sunrise reflecting on the silvery waters of the river and the birds that fly in surrounded the beauty of nature, a love that wins over everything and everyone, especially and above all on the Ellie's illness. This, in my opinion, is the most beautiful and romantic story written by Nicholas Sparks. It's an engaging story from the beginning to the end, which is never trivial. The book is titled The Notebook just because Ellie, before the illness overwhelmed her, makes Noah swear to write a book where he tells all their experience they had shared since they met.